Please don't power up a Blissey. Well, I'd be using for gym defense. Oh, let's go. Easy money. Most importantly, we beat Hal Stark to legend. That feels good. That man, he was at like 29.97 like 2 months ago or something, and he just couldn't close it out. Hey everyone, as I mentioned in a previous video, Toxapex is definitely worth the investment, and it looks even better in Halloween Cup. I played a total of only 2 sets with this team when I first started using it, and I gained over 300 elo and hit legend in the same time span. So this is a good team and one that's a little bit weird, but I think it's quite good. Obviously, you're running the bulky Toxapex, but on top of that, you're running Shadow Scizor and Cofagrigus. If you don't have a Shadow Scizor, you can definitely run the non-Shadow variant, but I personally think the Shadow variant is much stronger because you already can't tank too much as a Scizor, so you might as well do some extra damage, and that extra damage can really help you flip a lot of matchups on the safe swap. Cofagrigus is kind of a weird one and one that I don't see a lot of people running, but I think it's really strong because 1, people are not anticipating it, and 2, it's really strong against most of the steel types outside of Scizor, and it's a really strong check to poison types. Sableye does a lot of similar things, but the problem is it doesn't have nearly as much bulk on Cofagrigus, so I think this pairs really well with Scizor because you can save all your shields for Scizor and kind of let the Toxapex and Cofagrigus tank a lot of the damage. Before we get into the battles, a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons who've been supporting my content creation. If you would also like to have early access to my strategies and lineups, or see behind the scenes footage of my battles, feel free to sign up in the Patreon link down below. Because you are running a Cofagrigus, there are quite a few core breakers for this line. So one of them being Sableye, a lot of them being some of the darks as well, dark poisons. So against a lot of these types of Pokemon, I just stay in here. And I'm going to show you one of these core breakers too. Sableye pretty much has play against everything on this team, but Toxapex really leveraging that bulk can help you put in a lot of work here. And really, if the Sableye doesn't hit me with a return here, I could pretty much even win this matchup. And I actually force a Sableye to shield, which is pretty wild because you have a Sableye shielding a poison type, which is not usual. Alright, so here, I'm going to shield the Scizor and just bullet punch down here. Typically, Scizor with energy is pretty good against most things. And here comes a Wormadam Trash. I decided to just charge up some energy and swap out here. And here comes one, the Dark Poisons. Now, here's where Cofagrigus comes in really handy here. Sableye, you kind of have to land a return to do any meaningful damage. You could just go resisted Shadow Balls here. And looking at the bulk there on the Cofagrigus, you don't even have to shield, even while taking super effective crunch damage. And even winning against a Dark type on 0 shields. This really sets me up for the back end matchup here. As you can see, my Scizor, already low with energy, is really going to put in some work here. And then because they didn't shield, I'm just going to shield and bullet punch down. One thing you might ask is why X-Scissor over Ironhead? Mainly that's because for the dark types, I think Ironhead can make some sense if you're running Scizor and you're kind of particularly weak to fairies. My team's not really weak to fairies, so I'd rather have the coverage against dark types instead. And you're going to see in some of these matchups where the X-Scissor actually comes in quite handy because getting to Ironhead just takes a lot more time and it's just not as effective against a lot of the pure dark types, and even the dark poisons just takes way too long. So, Escavalier, a huge core breaker for this team as well. What I like to do is I typically shield once just to put it in a reasonable Shadow Claw range. Do I have to shield it? Probably not, but I figured it gives me energy here. I end up actually throwing a Shadow Ball here, which is kind of a misplay. I should be going Psychic, but that's okay. We're still in a very positive matchup, and my opponent doesn't shield that. I'm going to let the Brine go through because it's not the most impactful move. And then we have a Wormadam here. So this is pretty solid, and I'm going to just bullet punch and throw a bunch of Night Slashes. Unfortunately, not enough to take out here, but we just have to shield this and we should be fine. Honestly, if I just do 2 Psychics, I probably wouldn't have to even worry about the Toxapex here, but at their health range, it didn't matter. So, slight misplay from me, but luckily it did not make a huge difference there. Alright, so going straight away for the Night Slashes, potentially going for the boost, but probably in most situations you don't get one, but that's fine because now I could bullet punch all the way down. And one of the best parts about Scizor is that you could win charge from priority against pretty much most things in the meta, so you could really stretch how much you overfarm things by, or put opponents in tough situations by CMPing them. So as you can see here, doing a lot of work, taking out the Sableye and almost the Beedrill, grabbing both of their shields too, while only spending one shield on my end. And as you can see here, able to soak up a lot of damage, and they're going to concede. Even though they had an Umbreon going into Cofagrigus, shield advantage Toxapex can definitely handle that. Alright, great swap from my opponent here to swap onto their Obscune. I do get a boost there, which is kind of nice, and I'm going for the X's here, going to be super effective, and it actually takes them out. Maybe they thought I had Iron Head instead. I think because there's a potential of running Iron Head, some people don't shield when they probably should. But now we're in a good spot here. We're boosted as well, so you can probably get a shield here or just see their last Pokemon right away, and almost bullet punch it down. And they come in with a Scrafty. This is really good for me, so it's going to be Golbat Double Dark. If they came in Scrafty there, it probably would have been a little bit easier for them. But even then, at least I know my Shadow Scizor can still usually tie the Scrafty counter swap there. So it's kind of a 50-50 call there. Alright, so we can just tank all these foul plays, no problem. I made my life a little bit harder there because I thought that I lived the foul play, but either way, I'm able to Shadow Call down, and one Shadow Ball should be enough. I could even tank a foul play, so no problem there. Alright, going into Alolan Raticate. So this is not really an ABB team, it's more kind of a ABA, ABC team in many ways. It's actually more of an ABC team, I gotta say. So typically, even though you're not like hard checking darks, you play really well in neutral against darks. So typically that's what I do with the Toxapex here. And I do throw a Brine there a little early just in case they throw some of their energy, but unfortunately it didn't. So I probably couldn't got to a Sludge Wave, but that's okay. I could tank a Crunch here, non-stab, or it is stab, but from a bulky Alolan Raticate. It's not the end of the world. I'm kind of glad I didn't shield there, because this is definitely going to be a problem for my team. And then, yeah, it's a Alolan Marowak. You see a couple fire users here there, but not a ton. But the ones you do see are definitely hard checks for the Scizor. Able to, I do get baited here, but I know that I get to the next Psychic ahead of time anyway. Psychic really good for the poisons. That's the sole reason why you run it over Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse is a little less energy, but it just doesn't give you the same coverage. And yeah, we finish it off there. Mandibuzz, same thing. Bulky darks, you just stay in, right? Toxapex, you pretty much almost never shield. Maybe against a Escavalier matchup, like I said earlier, but for the most part, you just let it go down, finish off with Scizor, and just kind of sweep from there. Especially when they have a bulky dark in the lead there, they're typically pretty weak to Kofa in the back. And they actually have a dark poison here, so it's possible they have triple dark, but usually speaking, they probably have like a poison type in the back instead. But yeah, so they come in with Mandibuzz. I already have energy here, so this energy is going to be very meaningful. So I'm going to just still throw it. Maybe grab a shield from them. If not, that's fine. Able to bullet punch down. We have down 2 shields, but we have energy, and we have 3 Pokemon left. And it's going to be a Toxicroak, so this is fine. Actually, hard pivot to my Toxapex here. Whoop. I think Kramer wants to go. Mainly because I don't want them to counter me down and get too much energy here. I know my Cofagrigus should be fine in all likelihood against Toxicroak in the back here. And yeah, shields down at this point. I can Shadow Call down, and they're going to concede. Again, here's the thing. A lot of people don't expect the Cofagrigus, so a lot of teams are quite weak to in the back, especially if you get rid of their darks. This opponent here, Azumarill lead, Fairy leads in general, usually should be a guaranteed win, unless you really mess up the counter swap, but again, people counter swapping Escavalier. Escavalier is pretty solid as a counter swap in this meta, but not against Cofagrigus. You could tank a move, whereas they can't. So as long as you match shields, you're fine. I could get a lot of meaningful chip damage against this Azumarill as well, so that's going to be quite nice for me. And they either have to throw their energy or take a lot of damage in return. So they're going to finally throw their energy, which is fine. And a little latency, but it's fine. And then they come in with the Wormadam, and this is really nice because as long as I get rid of this thing, Toxapex is going to be fine. Toxapex also resists all of their charge moves, so I'm in a good spot. We also get a boost there too. Always a good time using Scizor and getting the boost here or there. A lot of times it's not even necessary, but it's nice to have once in a while. Shadow Victreebel, something you don't see super commonly. Even though you resist the moves on the Scizor and it's all neutral on Kofa, the Razor Leaf just hits so hard that I typically just stay in for a little bit, see what happens. You kind of have to respect the Leaf Blades. They really add up. And my opponent actually swaps it for me here. So I'm going to tank this damage first and then swap. Because, yeah, that Drapion does get the moves very quickly. Probably should have shielded that, but, oh no, it just ends up being an Aqua Tail. So that's fine. And then I'm going to try Bullet Punch down. They do get to another Aqua Tail, but I'm going to just shield. At least I come away with energy, and then it's an Umbreon. So this is not great for me because they still have a lot of health left. I want to hopefully they don't shield too much, but they do throw the energy ahead of time. So this is not good because they still have a shield advantage here. I do have energy on my Toxapex, and I'm trying to Shadow Claw this down. I don't really want much health left on this because the Umbreon's going to farm me down, so I purposely just don't throw any energy. But the problem is now this Umbreon has way too much health and a shield, and I'm gonna get taken out. So Shadow Victreebel, kind of annoying to face. Luckily you don't see them too often. I think that's my only one, or maybe I've seen two in total. Yeah, pretty rare in this meta at least. Alright, Dragalge. So Dragalge with a counter swap Drapion. Makes me a little nervous. Guy came out with a team about a year ago, which is Dragalge, Drapion, and Jellicent. Jellicent is a huge pain for this team. It hard walls the Toxapex, and it beats Kofa in many situations. So they could bait you with Bubble Beams, whereas you can't really do much, right? So what I'm actually going to do here is actually leave with 2 Night Slashes loaded in case they do have a Jellicent, in case it's my old team. It's possible it's not, right? But 2 out of 3 is similar. So this Dragalge ends up throwing a Gunk Shot at me, so that really makes me think that might be my previous team because I recommend Gunk Shot. But it's actually just another Dark Poison. So this is fine actually because I could wear this down quite a bit. They have to throw energy here. I have 2 Night Slashes. I win Charge from priority, and I don't think they have 2 moves. So because of that, I should get both of these Night Slashes off and could potentially finish off of my Cofagrigus. And then we come with Cofagrigus here. We know we could tank a move from before, so we're fine. But yeah, that's something you might have to think about doing when you face like Dragalge leads, to just save the Scizor for later in case you need it. Especially if you have energy. Like I said, Scizor typically wins charge from priority, so if you leave with energy, it's usually pretty meaningful. Alright, this opponent is going to throw a Poison Fang and Dip here. Maybe expecting that I have Iron Head here, right? So I could potentially flip the matchup. Once I see I don't have Iron Head, then I'm in a good spot. So I always recommend building up to Iron Head to potentially threaten shields because they really want Switch Advantage for some reason. I know I can't win Switch Advantage against Azumarill, so I was just throwing Night Slashes just for the potential buff to do a little bit more damage. Boost, I guess. Yeah, they hard pivot to their Nidoqueen here. Kind of interesting. So I'm going to come in with my Kofa here, and I do shield a potential Earth Power, and unfortunately it's not going to be the right move. And they actually have another Fairy in back, so double Fairy team. The main thing is you want to drag out any Azumarill if you can, because usually energy on Toxapex is pretty meaningful outside of against pretty much Dragalge and Jellicent. Alright, so this opponent does swap out here, but that's fine. This is still going to be a very positive matchup for me. I resist pretty much all these charge moves to my knowledge, and I'm going to throw a Brine here just to do some chip damage and just Poison Jet down. I probably should have gone for Sludge. Well, no, Sludge Wave is still resisted, I believe. Yeah, single resisted, I think. So, yeah, throwing the Brine is probably the right call there. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure Steel doubles the resist poison, right? I'm just waiting for the YouTube comments to roast me on that one, but I could be wrong. Anyway, here comes the Crustle here. Alright, so this is an okay matchup. You take a lot of neutral damage from the Smackdowns, and because they chip me down early, they can win Switch Advantage here. So it's a good call by the opponent to do this and maintain Switch Advantage. So I don't have Switch Advantage here, but I'm going to absorb the damage on this Toxapex here and see what happens. I come in and just finish off with my Kofa to get a slight energy lead, and they have a Galarian Weezing in the back. Not too worried about the moves here. Everything I can probably handle. At least one of those charge moves, and they actually no shield here, and that's going to be good for me. Alright, Golurk. Let me put it this way. Golurk is a cool Pokemon, but I just don't think it's good in any meta. And I could be wrong, but I don't recommend it. This is just my personal PSA. If if you think about using Golurk and Halloween Cup, I don't know. I don't think it's worth it. I haven't lost to one yet, and I don't really anticipate. I might lose to one here or there, but I just think there's so much better Pokemon that you can be using. It's just weak to so much. Like, you might as well just use a Runerigus at this point, right? You don't have charge moves that do a lot of damage either, so it's a little underwhelming. And as you can see here, yeah, even though they had a great lead matchup, they just can't really do too much with it. Cofagrigus with a Shield Advantage here with a lot of energy can do quite a bit into this Azumarill. I believe I could probably just Shadow Claw down at this point. No, I'm just going to throw it just because I know that they're in fast move range. And yeah, we finish off the Golurk. This team has been amazing for me. It did a lot of work, and it is, like I said, a little bit weird to use Ghost type Cofagrigus in a meta full of darks and dark poisons, but I think if you leverage it well and you know how to play around those matchups, it could be really strong. And that's definitely been probably my MVP along with Shadow Scizor. Toxapex, just a huge wall and damage soaker. If you're familiar with playing my Bastion teams, you know how I utilize the Bastion. Utilize the Toxapex in a similar fashion. Best of luck if you decide to use this team and you're still on the grind for Legend or leaderboards. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like and share, subscribe for future content, hit that notification bell to get alerted right when I post a new video, and I'll catch you all next time.